you're a very interesting person in the remix community because I feel like you're like the unofficial proof of concept person. Like you go forward and you go ahead and like create the version of what we're already thinking about. Welcome to another remix community collab. My name is Brooks, and I'm here with Kiliman to talk about middleware in Remix, which is maybe the most requested feature of all Remix features next to React Server components. And Kiliman has created a version of it before the Remix team has, so I'm really excited to talk to you. So thanks for joining me.
Hey Brooks. Yeah, my name is Michael Carter actually, but I go by Kiliman online. It's actually short for Kilimanjaro. So yeah, I've been with Remix since before it was open source. I got one of the first licenses. I was super excited. I've been a big fan of Michael Jackson and Ryan, and was big fan of Camp too. So he was promoting it, and so as soon as I heard about it, I said I got to be part of it. And I love it. It took me back to the old school ways of doing web development, and it just makes more sense to me. So I'm also known for the implementing the remix flat routes. I know there's some controversy online right now about flat routes. That's one of the reasons why my flat routes one actually has support for nested folders and stuff for those that want that. So definitely check it out. As Brooke said, I wanted to I'm always looking for ways to improve my applications. And definitely one of the things that I've wanted to have in Remix is the support for middleware. For example, doing authenticated routes, you pretty much have to check for authentication, all your loaders and
Mhm.
actions. And there's a whole bunch of other scenarios where middleware will come in handy. And the main thing that was kind of the blocker for me, which was unblocked when the single fetch feature came out. So once that was done, that was kind of my prompt to say, okay, let's go in and implement middleware. Remix team has an RFC online, and I tried to model my implementation off of that. There's a couple of minor changes to it, but
Yeah.
overall, I think it's pretty close to it. So I think it's a good kind of like a test bed for how middleware would work, and get some feedback for the Remix team, and let's see exactly how to do it. So
That's cool.
so that's kind of
Yeah.
what I hope to talk about.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate that overview and like you said with flat routes, I think it's interesting. If I remember the history, correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, you
Mhm,
created kind of the flat route. Like Ryan, I think came up maybe with the idea of flat routes, and then you
mhm.
actually made the first implementation. Is that correct?
Yeah, most of my things is, you know, I have other tools out there, like
Hmm.
the Remix params helper,
Yeah.
type JSON. Those are things
Hmm.
that I created because they were stuff that I wanted myself. Flat routes was one of those things where um, Ryan had posted a gist on Discord about it, and so I was looking at it and I said, "Oh, that sounds fun." And I think it took me like a day and a half to implement it, and so I pushed it out there, and it was like, "Oh, hey, let's try this out." And it was cool because it was very simple to just get started with routes without having to do a whole bunch of folders. But yeah, I could see where some people would, especially if you once you get past like 20 routes, it does get a little unwieldy if you just have these really long file names or folder names.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the hybrid routes that I added to the flat routes package allows you to kind of chunk up your routing to make it a little easier to manage. And in fact, Kent uses Remix flat routes with the hybrid routing in his Epic stack. So I think that was pretty cool. That's kind
That's
of like
cool.
a stamp of approval if Kent decides it's useful. So
Yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, it's funny, a little bit of, I guess, context on, like, the routing conventions, because yeah, it is it is kinda controversial, like,
mhm.
it's one probably the thing that people hate the most about, like, Remix V2, although, I don't know, our pretty much our opinion is, like, all file-based routing has inherent flaws,
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
it's subjective, but it is funny because it's like it was the first, I think, attempt at doing future flags for the Remix
Hmm.
team, and so basically, I think they basically settled on the API too fast, and so now they're like, we're way more conscientious about that from now on of like, "Oh, okay, we gotta put, like, that unstable in there first for a really long time before we
Hmm.
do it," because stuff changes or, like, users use stuff over time. That's why we like even, single fetch, I'm sure we'll talk about more, is unstable currently. That unstable doesn't mean it's buggy or broken, it just means we might change the API because we need
Mhm.
feedback. Like we realize, our best ideas maybe sometimes land, but sometimes totally not perfect.
And it's funny because I think if we had kept with the V1 routing, where you had the nest, where everything was
Mhm.
nested, one of the problems with the current V1 routing was that when you had your layout routes, it was you had a folder and then you had a file that was actual layout
Mm,
routes, and they were, in your code editor, they may be kind of separated because you have a bunch of because you have all these folders and then your
yeah.
files in there. If it was where you could just put the layout component inside the folder, maybe name it as underscore layout or something,
Yeah.
then you could have kept the rest of the V1 routing, and I think everybody would have been happy as that being the default. So,
Yeah.
live and learn.
Live and learn
And that's the
indeed.
cool thing about Remix routing is that you can pretty much replace your whatever convention you want.
Yeah, we're gonna make that a little bit even better. But
Mhm.
that's for
Yeah, I
down the
think
road.
yeah, Pedro even hinted about
Yeah.
he had some super secret enhancements to routing. So I'm curious. I'm kind of curious to see what that's all about. I
Yeah, I'm
try to answer
excited.
questions on routing all the time. So
Yes, yeah, I'm sure you've accidentally become kind of a remix routing
mhm.
expert at this point. Yeah, I do really appreciate just you're a very interesting person in the remix community because I feel like you're like the unofficial proof of concept person. Like you go forward and you go ahead and like create the version of what we're already thinking about or whatever we're
Mhm.
trying ahead of the team, which is like really valuable and really cool. So that's why I was particularly excited about this one. And I haven't even like played with your middleware at all. I've tried
Mhm.
to, like, not even read the README because I
Okay.
wanted to remain really fresh for this and just kind of
Okay.
let you walk me through your thought process and what.
As a precursor to the whole middleware thing
Mhm,
is that right now you can create a basic Remix app and you have the Remix app server, and it's kind of
mhm,
this self-contained Express app that you can't configure. So if you
yeah,
want to make any changes to that, you have to use the Express template. And the
okay,
Express template creates an actual separate server file that you go in and create your Express app. And what the problem with that is that you actually have two builds. You have your Express, and
hmm,
especially if you're doing TypeScript, then you have to deal with
mm,
the whole, transpiling and all that kind of stuff. So you have your server stuff that you get to build, and then you have your Remix stuff that gets built. And the server stuff the Express app has to load the server module depending on whether it's, especially when you're in V, whether it's the dev build or the production build. So there's a whole bunch of kind of boilerplate that needs to happen. So one of the things that I did was I actually created a Vite plugin for
okay,
the Express Dev server that allows you to create your Express app directly from your entry.server file.
hmm,
The
okay,
nice thing about that is that now your Express app and your Remix app are all compiled together in a single bundle, so that your access to importing any app modules, passing stuff through context, creating a production server, all that stuff is self-contained in your entry.server, and it's all part of the same build, so all the references match up.
okay,
And HMR works great, so you can change your Express middleware and hit save, and Beat will reload and do its magic. So that was the first part of, and that's the thing we'll demo first, and then
mm,
we'll show how middleware works. And again,
okay,
middleware is dependent on the single fetch
mhm,
feature that just came out, and that's one of the reasons why, that's main reason why I started this, implemented the middleware spec, is that single fetch unblock that, because
yeah,
you kind of need to have all your requests, um, especially doing client navigation when it calls the multiple loaders. It still calls the multiple loaders in parallel, but it does it on the server instead of the
mhm,
client making multiple requests.
exactly,
So by having a single logical request, you can actually, the middleware, you're still running it that one time for that navigation instead of running it three or four times, depending on how nested your um, navigation is. So we'll kind of demo that as well, and I think I think it's going to be pretty cool. We're just going to create a basic remix app. That's the cool thing about this, is that you don't have to use any special template. It's still, right now, it's still limited to the Express adapters. You know,
mhm,
um, once I kind of stabilize it, then I'll look into doing Vite and Cloudflare and some of the
okay,
other adapters, because I really do. I kind of replace the Express adapter because I need to hook into the whole request pipeline
okay,
for the middleware. So that's that's one of the limitations right now. My implementation is it's still kind of proof of concept. So just
Okay,
go ahead and create a regular.
sure.
Um,
Uh,
go ahead.
let's see. Okay. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, like I said, you don't even have to worry about the express. You can use the
Okay, so it
standard
just works
RAS
with
thing.
like
So
that's nice. Yeah. Man, this is always the slowest part, installing npm. Everyone's always like wants me to switch to pm or bun or whatever. And it's like I
yeah, I
don't
know.
ever
I've been
care until I'm like recording something. And then I'm like, oh yeah, okay, maybe this would be useful. What do you use for your package manager?
I use npm.
Okay.
I kick it, keep it old school. So
It's just
I
yeah,
have tried Bun, and it is pretty amazing how fast it is.
it
But I
really
just didn't
is.
want, it's like, when I'm giving instructions, a lot easier to kind of keep with the standard stuff. So,
Totally, totally. I agree.
okay. So, first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to install these two plugins, like two packages. The first one is the Express Dev Server. It's a Vite plugin,
Okay.
and it's a development one because it's just part of the Vite process. And then the Remix Express app, when I that's why it was a breaking change, because my first one had it all in one big package. The problem
Oh,
was the
okay.
Express side still had to be running in production because it's still a production thing. So
Yeah.
when I originally said, "Oh, just put it as a dev dependency," and then when people went to deploy it to do a Docker build, it was like, "Oh, it can't find the Express server."
Oh no. Makes
So,
sense.
so yeah, and I didn't want you to have to go in and make it a production app because then all your remix and Vite and all the dev tooling would come along in the image. So
Yep, that
by
makes sense.
separating them out, it makes it so.
Okay,
So
cool.
now that you've done that, the only other one that you probably are going to need is install as a dev dependency. It's Vite env only, Vite dash m dash only. Yeah,
Perfect.
and the reason why we're going to do that is that when we do the middleware, right
Mhm.
now, Remix doesn't know that middleware is as a server side only concept. So we kind of
Mhm.
have to wrap it in the server only thing. But I'm assuming that when Remix actually does it, they'll have the server only. It'll be part of the loader action. All those
Yeah.
other
Yep.
server exports. So
Cool. That
that's
makes
really the
sense.
only kind of the implementation detail.
Okay,
So
cool.
what we're going to do is we go ahead and open the Vite config.
Okay.
All right, and first thing, even though we don't necessarily use it right now, I might as well go ahead and do it, is in the install globals, go ahead and set the option to native fetch true, because we're going to need that for single.
True. Okay. Yeah, I guess we
So,
should turn on single fetch as well, right?
well, for now, just we're going to leave that, because
Oh,
I
okay.
just want to give you because you don't need single fetch for this thing. So the only
Oh,
thing that
right.
you
That
need to
makes
do
sense.
here is add the plugin Express Dev Server.
What is it? This one.
Yeah,
Oops. Sorry. Hold on. Yeah.
okay.
Is it is it just the
Yeah, it's
default or is
Express.
it this guy?
No, I don't like defaults when I do
Yeah.
exports. So just add
Yeah.
that, yeah,
I feel
Express
that.
Dev Server.
I just like the fact that I can, actually like see what all the imports are with control space. So anyway,
Right, and then what you can do
cool.
also is go ahead and install the env-only plugin. That is a default
Sure.
export, so Pedro, that's on
Yeah,
you.
we can get math page for that. It's not that one.
That's just Vite env-only. Yeah,
Cool.
go ahead and put that plugin as well. And again, that's only because we'll be using that when we do middleware, so we get this all set up.
Okay,
Okay,
that
so
makes
now
sense.
that we've done that, the only thing that we need to do is go to our app folder, to our app entry.server,
Okay,
and then just at the bottom there,
at the
we're
very
just going to
bottom.
create, it's going to be export const app equals create express app. And just, yeah, you can leave it blank for right now. You don't, because if you do it like that, it'll automatically create, yeah, just leave it like that and it will create a express app just like the Remix app server.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
So go
Makes
ahead
sense.
and now you can go ahead and build and run it. Run dev, yeah.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
and there you go.
I'm working.
Hey,
Yeah, that's good.
woohoo, it
Nice.
works.
Woo.
But the cool thing is that you now have a full featured Express app.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, if you go into your dev console, see it's still running. It's still doing Morgan right there.
Mhm.
So what we can do now is go into our Create Express app, and actually there's a set of bunch of options. Okay.
Okay.
First one, so you got the configure, create server, custom handler, get express, get load context.
Cool.
Let's just do the get load context now, because this is one of the things that a lot of people ask for. Yeah, I would just
Just
go ahead, yeah, and then just return um, an object and just put like message hello from context. Okay, so there you go. So now what you're going to do is go into, we'll create a route,
Okay.
go to the index route, it's fine,
Okay, sure. Just do that one.
and then just create a loader.
Oop,
And
sorry.
then, yeah,
It's
and then just get your
eager.
access context,
Context. Okay.
and then just return JSON context, and then that way you can, or you can just
Yeah.
return context since we don't we're
Yeah.
not going to want JSON anymore. Just
Just the
return the
whole thing.
context, and then yeah,
Cool.
and then on there just use loader data, and then you can just do like a pre.
Is it yeah, would just you want to print out the whole thing? That makes sense.
Right, just yeah, you can get rid of the
Yeah.
JSON stringify data null 2. I
Yeah.
wish null was default. It's like, come
I
on.
know. It's so funny. Just we live with it at this point. Okay, cool.
And
There
there
we
you
go.
go.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That's cool. Yeah, that is super
And
nice.
what's cool is yeah, go into a server and then just do it,
Mhm.
and then just make a change, and you'll see, and kind of like, can you split it so that it
Yeah, of course. Yeah, let
does
me
it? Yeah, so
change that
it's
so we can kind of see it. Ooh,
yeah, there you
nice.
go. So
Oh, I think
you
that's
got
missing
your
it now.
Express
There we go.
app running HMR right.
That's
So
awesome. That's super cool. Yeah.
okay,
So yeah, get no
and we could get into
context.
the whole configured stuff, but I think this part is fine. I think it kind of gives you an idea, because honestly, I don't
Yeah,
know what other middleware to add that will really show off with the
that makes
middleware
sense.
part. Uh, so one of the things that we're going to do here, now that we've shown that we now can do our Express app, and if you look at the README, it has a lot of advanced configurations, like being able to do you go to the Express. You want the Express one,
Oh, the express
not
one.
that one. The create, yeah,
This.
yeah.
Nope.
The dev
This.
server is pretty. That's it. You pretty much just have to install
That's
it.
it. That's all
You
it
don't
is.
have
Yeah.
to do anything else.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, go here. This is all the stuff about the configuring the Express app, and then here's some examples here. They
Mm-hmm.
can do all that stuff there, and then if you scroll down a little bit more, this is advanced configuration. So if you want to set up an HTTP server,
Okay.
you would do that, and then if if you're doing Sentry and you had the wrap, I do know that they do have a Vite plugin, so it may not necessarily be required anymore. But if you do
Sure.
it this way, you can do it through there. So
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
now that we've done that, we can go ahead and start working with the middleware
Cool.
feature. So the first thing you'll need to do is in the Create Express app is just set unstable. Okay, we're done with the Vite stuff, so we don't.
Oh, we don't
That
need
was
a
literally it. Express
we
dev
don't need a
server. So
setup
and the
single
env
fetch or
only
anything.
was the only other thing that you needed. Oh, I'm sorry. You do have to put that in.
No worries. Yeah.
You're right. So
Didn't want us
you
to
have to
be
turn on the
debugging
single
stuff for
fetch.
forever. Okay,
Okay,
cool.
so now you can go and close that, and then in the Create Express app, just set a setting for unstable middleware true.
Okay, is it under like what configure or
Yes, no, it's right there. See, yeah, just unstable right there, comma unstable.
oh yeah, yeah,
Just
with
true,
setting it. Okay,
going
just
true.
a true. Got it. Okay. So you got
Okay,
your
so
own
now
little
all
feature
that
flag in here.
basically does is that just means, okay, I'm going to start processing any middleware.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So on the first middleware that we're going to do is what I call session middleware.
Okay.
And as you know, Remix has session support. And this
Mhm.
API is actually, because it's not really built in, it was just an example of a session one. I probably will include a session middleware as available because I've
Okay.
actually was thinking of a better way to do it. Because right now you still have to kind of create your own little session code. So,
Yeah.
where you create the
Nice.
session thing. So, as you know, Remix already has a session API,
Yeah. Oh,
but
okay.
you literally have to do the get session, build the session from your
Yeah.
cookies,
Yeah. Do
get
all
the
that stuff.
session, and then remember, once you make any changes to it, you have uh, uh, to commit it and stuff like that.
Yep.
If you
Yep.
want, you can, if you want to just copy stuff from my example repo, you can.
Sure.
It
Yeah. I
might
know
be
you
easier. It might be easier.
saw that earlier that you have a little
Yeah. So just go there
example
and go
here. Okay.
and
Cool.
click on in app, click on session.server, the last file, copy
Okay.
that, and just paste that into your
Sure. This goes in just like app. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Cool. So this is yeah. So this is. Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can. No, I didn't copy it actually. There we go.
Okay, so
So
yeah, all
creating.
this does is
Yeah.
just
Good.
your standard creating a session
Mm-hmm.
um, cookie. So now that we have that, now let's go ahead and go back to our app folder and create a folder called middleware. And again, this is just convention. It's not a
Okay.
requirement.
Got
And
it.
then
Makes
create a new
sense.
file called section.ts.
Okay.
Okay, and then go back to my comp. And I'll explain the code if you just want to copy and paste it because it's probably easier
Okay.
than
Sure.
having to type it in.
Got it. Yeah. Only like 40 lines. I think I
Yeah,
can. No, I'm
it's
just kidding.
okay. Basically, this code, all this code does is it's kind of a wrapper function because normally you would just define a function and then add that to your middleware array. But here, I needed to be able to add the uh, to determine if it was a cookie session or not, right? Cookie
Okay.
storage,
Gotcha.
because if it's cookie storage, you need to set the cookie header, the cookie when you commit it. If it's a regular one, you
Got
don't
it.
necessarily need to do that. So I just,
That
that
makes
was a
sense.
flag I needed to do. So every middleware has a function that takes in the middleware function arguments. So you get the request, context, and then there's a special next function
Mm-hmm.
that you have to call to go to the next
Mm-hmm.
middleware.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of other ones. If you look in the documentation, it'll show you about that. So here, um, we're going to get the session just like we would normally in a loader.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we want to do is, because I want to know if you actually made a change to the session. Sometimes in a loader, you're most likely going to read it, but in an action, you're going to modify it, mutate it.
Mm-hmm.
So all this session proxy does is see if you call any of the mutating function methods, set, unset, or destroy.
Hmm.
And if
Okay.
it is, it just sets dirty to true, and then it adds the session as a proxy object to the context. So now in your loaders and actions, you just reference it from the context. And
Okay.
then
Cool.
now it's going to go ahead and call the next middleware and get
Mm-hmm.
the response. And then so it's gonna start at your root middleware,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's gonna call any middleware that you've defined from your root to any parent or leaf routes. Once it's called all your middleware, then it will finally call all your loaders in parallel, just like Remix does.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get the response back from that, then it walks back up the chain. So here,
Mm-hmm.
by the time it gets to once your loaders have been called, then it comes
Mm-hmm.
back up and you're going to get that response. And then you can actually check, read the response and add headers or do anything else that you
Mm-hmm.
need. And it'll go up and they'll return to its parents middleware all the way back up to the root middleware. So it's
Cool.
just kind of like a stack. And then once you get your loaders, then it goes all the way back up. So here, by the time we come back from the remix loaders, if you made any of the called any of the mutating methods, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
dirty, and then it's going to go ahead and commit the session. And then if it's cookie storage, then it's going to append the set cookie. So
Okay.
now you don't have to worry about that. So if you do like session flash or any of those kind of things,
Yeah.
you're going
Okay.
to have that same type of thing. So
That's nice.
now what we're going to do is go back to the root.
Okay.
All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to export that middleware. So just export const middleware
Okay.
equals, and this is where we're going to have to do that server only. So do server only
Cool.
$sign, yeah, and then
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on.
put in, it's an array of middleware functions. So create an array, and
Yeah.
it's going to be do
Give it
session,
session, right?
yeah, and then just
Okay, that's
cookie
cool.
session. Okay, and then
That's
I'll
cool.
put, you got, this is do the session, and then it's parenthesis, yeah, there.
Oh, it like oh,
Because
it's
remember,
you
this session is going to
right.
return a function. Okay, so we're
Oh, okay,
returning a
right. Yeah, yeah,
function.
yeah.
So this is
So
kind of
we
like a
need
wrapper to
yeah,
the actual middleware.
that makes sense.
Okay,
That's interesting.
right. When we do the require auth one, you'll see that you don't need this wrapper type thing. You can actually just
Yeah.
return the reference to it. And the only reason I
Okay.
did that is because I needed to know if it was a
If it's
cookie
a cookie
session or not.
session. Yeah. Why
Okay.
not just like assume that it's gonna be a cookie session, I guess?
Well,
Just
we could
making this more
probably do
general.
that by default.
Yeah.
Or so we have that, and now what we need to
Mhm.
do is actually create something that requires a session. So
Okay.
I created the test route.
Sure.
If you look
Yeah.
in my
Let's
code,
we can go.
pretty simple. It's a counter. So just go to the test, yeah, the last one,
Oh yeah, test two. Okay, cool.
and just copy and paste that one.
Literally test. I always run
Yeah.
into issues when I name like a route test or something, because then
Haha.
whatever my test runner is will like try to pick it up and be like, I don't know what to do with this.
Okay, yeah. So this, see here, this is context session is not it's
Hmm.
not typeset. So what you need to do is if you go back to your entry.server, now that we're actually modifying context,
Mm-hmm.
okay. So if you go to my entry dots in my example, you'll see that
Sure.
I actually,
You're like setting up those types and
yeah.
whatnot.
So right there, where did I have?
Is that
Yeah, it's line
there you go?
92.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay, these guys, yeah.
Yeah, those
Oh,
lines
okay.
right
So you were
there.
just declaring the
Yeah,
types.
you, so that's how you
Here.
kind of declare. That's how you kind of modify, and then I think you have to do some imports in
Yeah.
there. So you add on. Yeah.
Okay, so these are all
Okay, so
coming
when you
from
in your server session
sorry, I was just trying to make sure that in case for anyone watching this that they're not super confused what just happened. So we're
oh, and
importing these
then
types
yeah, sorry.
from remix run slash node, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so those are all just a bunch of session types, and then we're actually so why are we
I think here
declaring
in
like for someone who maybe doesn't totally understand this whole declare module thing, like what's going on here? Why are we doing all this? Oh,
oh yeah, we can get rid of the say hello. That was another example. That was where I was
okay, sure,
importing something from there. So what you're going to do here is on the get load context, get rid of this return message thing because that,
sure,
remember, we were just doing that. So just return an empty object as um, app load context. Yeah,
okay, because the middleware is what
because
is
middleware is going
injecting that
to
essentially.
add these
Okay,
two here.
interesting.
Okay,
Okay, cool.
and again, the whole DX is going to probably be streamlined. This is still kind of
Sure,
like working. Yeah, so we can get rid of
that makes sense. Yeah,
this loader here. Get rid
like
of
all
it.
this
Just
stuff.
get, yeah, just leave count
Except
there because we're going to leave
okay,
that.
cool. So
But now
now
you
you're
see the
saying
context section is now types thing, and if you do get, you'll actually see if you do on the get, you'll get rid of the count, and you start typing. Oh, that
no
was weird because I
citations.
could have worse.
Huh?
Because I
Did
think
I
it's
not?
in. If you look at session server, it does have your session data
We got session
as
data, but
yeah,
does this
and then
have any
it's
values, or do we need to declare
no, in the
those values?
in
Hmm.
session.server.ts, the second tab.
Sure.
Yes, it has count user ID.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
So
So that's helpful to
yeah,
understand.
so
So we're supposed to be importing this, whereas I just imported some like generic session data, I think, from Remix run slash node. So you're saying that needs to actually
oh
come
yeah,
from
from
session
session server,
server.
that's what you should be doing.
That makes sense. Okay, cool. So now we can say like, oh,
Now there
hey,
you go.
this
Okay.
session has these three values. Cool. Okay, that makes sense.
And another thing I want to do is right here because I have to kind of when you get the initial session, if it's empty,
Hmm.
it'll
Yeah.
return, and you have to do this or zero thing. I want to do it where it's kind of like type safe, so you can actually do like numbers and booleans and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. That'd be really
have it
cool.
initialize your session. So again, the session kind of interface will probably be changed, but this is just,
Yeah.
as you can see, it's literally just getting the session from context, and then in
Yeah.
your action
Okay.
here, all we're doing is saying, I just wanted to show you that there's a difference between an action that mutates and an action that doesn't
Mm.
mutate. so that you can see that it doesn't set the cookie. So it's
Mm,
either, because I have two buttons, I have one that just increments and one that just posts back. So as you can see on the increment one, it's going to call the session set with the new count. But as you
got
can see,
it.
there's
Okay.
I don't do any commits, I don't do any set cookies, I don't do any of that kind of stuff. All
Okay,
right, so that
cool.
should
That's
work.
nice.
Well,
Yeah,
go
that's
back to your main page again, the home page, and
sure.
just create a link to test.
Or
Or
do
you
you
can
want
do that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, and then just
Nice.
there
Okay.
you
Then
go.
yeah, if I'm posting,
And if you
it's
hit
also
if you hit the F12, you can actually see, or your
yeah, I just wanted
it's
to
just
see
doing
like okay,
regular
so these are all
posts. And if you
yeah,
click on
yeah,
any
yeah.
of those, you'll see that there's no set cookie header.
Yeah. But then if I
All
do
right.
this
You do the
one,
count, and
okay,
there's your set
cool.
cookie header for
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
meet, and go back to the one before it. That's because I think that's the get. And
Okay, yeah,
there's
yeah.
your
Oh yeah,
and
because
your
the revalidation, of course.
right.
Yeah. Nice. That's super cool.
So
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah. Okay.
that's what middleware is for. It's kind of this cross-cutting concern where you want to be able to handle across multiple anything that you would normally have to do across multiple loaders. If you have to do the same
Yeah.
thing, call the same things in multiple loaders, you want to do it in a middleware that's going to handle all that for you.
Okay, cool.
So that's step one, and luckily it actually worked. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's always nice. Cool. Okay, sweet. Yeah, it's super useful.
the next, like I said, the next kind of the main use case for middleware is
Mhm.
authentication.
Okay. Yeah.
Right now, it's like if you have protected routes, you have to verify the user in every loader. You can't
Yeah,
just
it
do
can
it
be
at
pretty
a
annoying.
lot of people think, oh, I could just do it in the parent layout, but probably you could get away with that now with the single fetch, since there's no multiple loader fetches like we used to have.
Yeah.
But it's still, you're now still having to do it inside of a loader. And what's cool is that the middleware doesn't have to be in the root. It can be at any level. And then
Oh, that is
that
really nice.
middleware applies to every child route.
Okay. That is super
Okay.
cool. Yeah, yeah.
And again, the other thing is that as you saw, middleware is an array. It's not just a
Mhm.
single function. So you can have, middleware 1, 2, 3 at the root
Yeah, yeah,
level,
yeah.
and it's going to call middleware 1, 2, 3, and then if you have any child layouts that have middleware, then it's going to call those 4, 5, 6. It's going to keep going down. So it
Yeah.
literally goes in and just finds all the middleware, does a flat map to create one big array, and then just walks it down. Once it gets to the end, it calls the remix stuff, the loaders and actions. Once it gets those returns, that return response, then it walks back up until it gets back to the top, and then it finally sends the remix response out.
Okay. Cool.
So on the return back, that's where you get to modify the actual response object. The only thing you can really do is change the status or the headers. You can't really change the body.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do the require auth one. So if
Sure.
you want to just copy and paste that,
Yeah.
it's again, it's pretty simple too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this one is yeah, super simple. So
So
let's see what I
all I do here in this middleware, again, this is just a function now that takes the request, the context, and the next thing.
Mhm.
It looks for a cookie, gets the cookies, and then looks for cookie named user.
Mhm.
If it doesn't exist, then it's going to do a redirect, just like
Okay.
like
Yeah.
you would do in a typical loader. You're going to throw a redirect, and here I'm going to redirect past the URL that I'm going to redirect to. But if I do have the cookie, then I'm going to set the user context, which is just basically the username, to
Okay.
whatever's in the cookie, and then return
Cool.
the next function. So now we're going to go ahead and create a protected route. So let's create a
Okay.
protected layout.
So we're not gonna put it in the root like you were saying. We're gonna actually
Yeah, because this way we could have like a home page that doesn't require login, and then
yeah.
have your kind of like your app level stuff. So yeah, I just created a protected and a dashboard one.
Cool. Oh, do that. So yeah, protected. Oh, protected. So that's like the layout route, and then
Hmm.
protected dot dashboard. Okay, cool. So this is the one I assume will actually set up the
Right. So yeah,
middleware,
go to the
right?
protect. Yeah, go to the protected one and just copy paste that. This
Okay.
has the um, this is where it's going to define the middleware. Yeah,
Okay.
I actually decided that I don't like the tilde imports,
Yeah, as I was
mainly
saying.
because um, you have to keep messing with it in all your different tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I
yeah,
get that
I
for sure.
definitely, Kent is the one that kind of said, "Hey, look, we were actually using the Node imports thing, the package
Mm-hmm.
JSON imports, and it works everywhere. So I definitely prefer that. So
Okay. Interesting.
anybody
Yeah.
that has questions about it, I always push it. In fact, I link in directly to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the decision document that Kent did.
That's cool.
So
Yeah. 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 All
so
right.
here,
Cool.
let's kind of define what we've done here.
Yeah.
So again, this is the top level layout for
Mm-hmm.
all the protected routes. So
Mm-hmm.
all we're doing, we're just exporting the middleware.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're wrapping it in server only just because Remix doesn't know about it yet, and
Mm-hmm.
we're just passing it in the function. So like I said here, we're just passing the middleware function reference. The session one was a little different. We had a wrapper around it to actually create the
Yeah.
middleware
Yeah. Yeah.
function.
That
So that's
makes
why
sense now.
that's different. So all this is going to do is it's going to just check to see if that cookie is there. If it's not
Mm-hmm.
there, it will redirect to the login. But if it is there, it's going to set the context user. So now if you look here in your loader, you now have access to context user, which is your string.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Cool.
what we'll do is, and then it'll show you the user and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go ahead and in our dashboard, I think it's just a simple.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
It's
just kind of
super simple.
it was just to show that, hey,
I love it. Yeah. Yeah. We don't even need the form.
yeah, I don't even think I'm not even. Oh, I don't even think you need the loader. I think when I
Yeah.
was debugging
Great.
something, it was complaining about having a not. So yeah, so you can even get that import out of
Yeah.
there. So
Let's make it
that's
super
it.
simple.
So that was all it
Cool.
was. It's just there. So the other two things that we actually need a login route because it's going to redirect to the. Or if
Right.
you
Yeah.
want,
I
you could
just wanted
try
to
it and just just
make
try doing
sure.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
There,
So now,
not
so now.
found. See how it redirected?
Yeah. It's great. Cool. Okay. And
So
then
yeah,
we're
it works. So now we just go ahead and create a login route.
cool. Does this need to be under? I mean, no, it wouldn't be
No, it's just a
protected.
regular route.
Well, we probably want to redirect if you're not logged in, I assume. I don't know if you're already handling that or not. I might be getting ahead of
Yeah,
myself.
watch yeah.
All right,
So
cool. You're
you
already,
go
yeah,
into the
you got it all.
login, copy
Okay, cool.
paste,
So
and
yeah,
all
we got
this
an
stuff.
action.
It's just there's just an action that's gonna take um the value. I have my default as Kiliman, but when you submit to it, it will then redirect to whatever the URL was that you were from, or the home page
Cool.
if you didn't have a redirect. So now,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
there you go. And then if you hit login, welcome
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's awesome.
and now if you go to the login, go create a logout route,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess we
and
that
that
way.
just deletes the cookie. So
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Which makes sense that these are just like, yeah, go ahead and just like set it because you don't need to
mhm.
go through the whole flow of the
Yeah, you
authentication.
probably don't even need that either.
Sure. Yeah, I love
Yeah,
it.
most of my stuff was just very simple.
Yeah.
So all it does is just does a redirect to them.
Cool. Yep. And then we're
And
out
there you
again.
go.
And then if we go
If
back
you
to
if you
login.
do, yeah, go ahead and create like links to dashboard and stuff, so that way you can tell that it's
Yeah,
because
yeah,
right
yeah.
now
Good
when you're
idea.
typing those in, you're doing full document requests. Doing it through single fetch with the dot data, that was tricky, especially with the response,
Oh, yeah.
with the throw and redirect. I haven't really solved it. If you look in the middleware source file, it actually just says hack, and I hard code what the actual turbo stream response should look like.
Yeah.
So I'm still, and then we need one for
Oh, do we need one more?
lock in. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Nope. Jeez.
Oops. Yeah,
Hold on.
I
Let
did
me.
you could do that too. That'll work.
Yeah, I probably should actually make that a list, shouldn't I? Oh, well. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
So
So
we
we got
got, yeah.
these.
So
Do these need to be in
let's,
like the root or is it fine in the index route here?
oh, the index is fine because this is where your homepage is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's your account, dashboard,
Cool. Go
login.
here.
And then
Nice.
you can back home,
Yep.
dashboard, you can log
Nice.
out, log
Yeah,
back
that's
in.
awesome. That works. Yeah. Sweet.
And then what's cool
Okay.
is that because now the protected
Hmm.
the require auth middleware runs, on every request for anything for protected under it, you don't have to worry about it. And you're
Hmm.
always just going to have the user in there. And then so in your require auth thing, this is where you can, check to see if you've got a valid token, and if it's expired,
Hmm.
you can go ahead and do a fetch out because
Yep.
it's all async, and I await all that, so you can
That's
still
nice.
go and do an
Yeah.
async fetch to refresh your token, and then you can set the context with your token, and then now all your loaders have access to that. With my session middleware, you don't have to worry about if you have multiple places that you're mutating the session because you're all
Hmm.
working on the same session object. And
Hmm.
then when you go to commit it, you're only committing in one place. I know the file-based session one, there's a chance of having conflicts and corrupting your session file
Yeah.
because there are multiple writes to it. So if
Yeah.
one loader doesn't reads the flash and the other one doesn't, and then when they go to commit, now you have two different views. So, and as you saw, it's relatively simple. It's just
Hmm.
simple, and you can chain multiple of them.
Yeah. I
Um,
really like that they can just build on each other. I was curious, yeah, how does it differ from the actual RFC in any way?
um, the middleware signature is a little bit different. I
Okay.
do pass in. I got request params. Because he has. They have two different RFCs for context, server context, and session.
Yeah. Yep.
And to me, I think all of those can be handled with middleware
Yeah.
because all you're really doing for context is just adding some more stuff to it. There may be something that you may want to do to kind of prevent collisions. Because you kind of like this have this, but I do have at least the app on. Have that app load context as a kind of like for type definition.
Yeah. I'm trying to
So
see if we've even because we've kind of rethought even if this is
yeah, because I don't
totally
think you
something we want
need
to
server
provide.
context separate if you're already passing context.
Yeah.
Middleware can mutate context. Your
Yeah. That's really
context
interesting.
object is shared across all your loaders.
Hmm.
So 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 I think middleware obviates the need for server context.
Cool.
Um, the other thing here, and he does see if you scroll back up a little bit,
Sure. Of course.
see he does have like the response stuff. So he does, you await the response,
Hmm.
and this is like I said, the response it's a common response. The originator of the response is actually the whatever the response is from Remix after it's
Hmm.
called the loaders in action. So
Hmm.
that response is what's passed up the middleware chain. So all
Okay.
we're
Cool.
doing is in the middleware is either adding or updating headers or changing the response object.
Yep.
So the response status, we're not messing with the body
Yeah.
because we're assuming that the um, loaders and actions are responsible for the body of it.
Yeah. I'm not
Um,
sure why you would really want middleware affecting your body. That would be,
right.
I don't know, could be a
So,
recipe
but
for
in
disaster.
his examples, he doesn't always call the next function. And right
Oh,
now, if you
interesting.
don't call next, it doesn't do anything because it
Oh,
doesn't. There's
really?
no.
Yeah.
It's kind of like priming the pump. Without it, how does it know to call? I'd have to
Oh,
know
absolutely. Yeah.
where because I would have to know that did they call or didn't they call it. So it's better to just require that they call it, and then
Yeah.
require
No, that
that they
makes a lot
should.
of sense.
I also have it where it's required that you return a response. So you should always return whatever response
Yeah, okay.
comes back. So that's why
Yeah. I think that's pretty
you can
reasonable.
either await the response to get your the response object so you can manipulate it, or you
Yeah.
can just say
And just
return
return it.
next and
Yeah.
then let it. So, but if you don't return it, then it throws an exception.
Cool.
But
Yep. That
again,
makes a lot of sense.
the redirect it can do redirects, and so yeah, it's pretty close. I think if you look at the middleware function origin, it's in the middleware. Just if you
Let's
just
see.
F12 on that, yeah. Requests, the params, the context matches.
Yeah.
Somebody actually asked about this in this RFC comments.
Hmm.
When I call, because I'm kind of doing it outside of Remix, I have to kind of like know what routes currently match so that I know which
Mhm.
middleware to call. So I actually call match routes inside that just before I call Remix. So it's
Okay.
basically the same thing that Remix does.
Yeah.
So match routes basically gives you that kind of the React router thing where it shows you all your, it's an array and not an
Yep.
object like the remix side is.
Hmm.
And it
Okay.
has like the root and then the children and all that kind of stuff. So all this does is it returns match. Yeah, if you want to do it where you can console log or
Sure. Just see what it looks like. Guess I gotta go back. Yeah, I'm on the dashboard. Okay, cool.
all right. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
so
it's
this
an
is all
array
the
of each one.
matches. So it gives you that. So here's the root route, and then if you scroll down a little bit longer more, you get the protected
Nice
route, and
layout.
then it's got children, which is the dashboard route. So it's kind of this whole thing. What's cool is that you actually have access to the module.
Hmm.
This is kind of how I. So this is where the module is where I figure out if you've got middleware because the module object actually has the
Is it under? Oh,
and you
it's
probably
under
want to do it
route.
from the root. Yeah, I probably want to do it the root route
Oh, sure. Okay.
because the dashboard route's probably going to only have the default.
Is it not on the route itself? Let's see.
Just do
Am I
console
looking at?
matches 0, and then I don't remember exactly. Yeah, so it's right there. It should be modules, and
Yeah,
there's
it's just
middleware.
not.
Okay, so there's the middleware, your layout, your default, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
um,
Cool.
so that's one. That's how I
Jeez,
figure out whether you have middleware or not.
that's fascinating. Yeah.
Uh, but what's really cool is that there's a couple questions where people were like, okay, how can I tell if I'm on if this particular route ID match, has this loader or whatever. And
Yeah.
yeah, the match thing, because you have access to that, you can do all sorts of
It's super
comparisons.
powerful. Yeah.
So by having just by including it, it was already there. It was you're getting it for free essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so that was really the main change. So Ryan's RFC still was kind of the whole response side of it. He wasn't consistent with it, and it could just be because
Yeah.
when you're just typing up stuff, it's
Yep.
whereas we actually have to implement it, then you have to be a
Yeah.
little bit more consistent. So yeah,
That.
so this one actually talks about the whole, needing you to return a response and those kind
Yep.
of things. So
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it was even before like single fetch had been created too. So I wonder if
right,
that would have
exactly.
influenced his designs.
Right. And like I said, the throwing the response, the redirect, that's your standard
Yeah, that's just. I mean, this
remix
is straight
thing.
up coming from Remix runtime.
Hmm.
That's cool.
You pretty much copy code out of one of your loaders,
Yeah.
stick it in a middleware function, and
Yeah.
call
And
it
it
a
should
day.
just work. That's cool. Sweet. Yeah, this is super cool. Thank you so much for showing me this, Michael. Yeah, I think people are gonna really like this, and I'm
Hmm.
sure you're gonna be getting a lot of feedback, which will be
Okay.
really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not that I have feedback, just saying I know people are excited about this, so you're gonna get a lot of users, and with users, inevitably comes the opinions. So
Yeah. It's something that I wanted for my application.
yeah,
So, um, once I knew that single fetch was coming out, I said, okay, I gotta do this, and it was relatively easy to do once you kind of figure out how to get into the remix stuff.
yeah,
The internals. Just so to clarify, this is all in user land.
yeah.
Um, this does not modify or patch the Remix core. The Express adapter, the standard one, I just copied the server implementation, the handler stuff into my thing because I do make a couple of changes to it, but it works the same. It does support errors. Like I said, it supports throwing responses. So
Mm-hmm.
you can throw 404s, you can throw,
Mm-hmm.
bad requests, you can throw whatever, and it will eventually bubble up. Redirects are treated separately, just like Remix does. So it knows
Mm-hmm.
if you throw a redirect, it will do the redirect. It won't get to your error boundary. But any of the other ones, any 400 and above, will go to your error boundary, just like normal. If you throw an error in your loader, it
Mm-hmm.
will catch in your error boundary, just like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
regular
Okay,
Remix.
that's good. Yeah.
But I don't know how well it handles like throwing an error inside of a middleware,
Yeah.
because inside of a middleware, I'm not in the remix part of it yet.
Right. You're kind of outside that flow.
So
Yeah.
if you do it, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. I know I can do it because I can return a response that has the error payload, just like you would have done it,
Mm-hmm.
and then Remix will eventually pick it up. I just
Okay.
haven't gotten because I'm still figuring out how to best use the Turbo Stream API.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the Remix side, there's it handles most of the native types like date, big ints, and things like that. But it also has some custom types like for the redirect, for
Mm,
for the sanitized error types. There's
mhm.
like it uses symbols, which is kind of hard. So I'm like trying to figure out exactly what I need to import from there because I have to kind of import them directly from the dist folder, things like that. So, but eventually I'll
Yeah.
figure it out. But I was scrambling to try and get this thing done for our call. So yeah,
That's cool.
the latest version was like probably a couple hours old before this call. So
Okay, cool. Fresh off, yeah, the press or
fresh off the
whatever.
press.
That's so cool. Well, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for showing me this. I'm really excited for other people to explore it and to
Mhm.
get more feedback and whatnot. But I mean, this is awesome. Like, there's lots that's already in here that's really cool, and your examples
Mhm.
are super helpful to just show you how to get started or the kind of things that
Right.
you can build. So yeah, I really appreciate you building this out. I'm excited to hear more people's feedback.
All right. Well, thank you for
Sweet.
having me on.
Yes, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.